Hello and welcome to the Magic Mirror podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Khan, the Trinket Mage, and with me is my co-host, 33 Elk.
Hello.
And my other co-host, Salubrious Snail.
Howdy.
Jeez, oh my, whoa.
Today we have a packed episode. We're going to be talking about a couple of potential rules changes that are floated around by the community and our thoughts on that. And then we're going to talk about some of the spoilers. There's Final Fantasy, there's Tarkir, and there's some Spider-Man spoilers. And then we'll get to a question or two if we got time at the end. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Card Castle, the easy way to digitally sort your collection. If you want to start scanning and sorting your cards today, click the link in the description below. You can scan for free, but you get 1 free month of premium if you use our link. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the podcast. So the first rules change is the abolition of color identity.
Yeah, Snail, you brought this one.
I did.
So maybe it's best if you explain, yeah.
Well, I think one of you brought it, and then I was like, oh, hell yeah, I will argue that. Do you want me to launch into my pitch for it? My elevator pitch for why?
100%.
Should I do the example with Garuda?
Go wild, yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, Garuda Doom of Depths is 4 hybrid Dimir for its mana cost. In other formats, if you were playing a mono blue deck, you could play Garuda or mono black, either or. But in Commander, you can't put Garuda in your 99 unless your commander has blue and black in his color identity, even though in theory a mono blue card would be able to cast the spell.
Yeah, this also comes up in some other cards as well. So for example, Westvale Abbey, on the back, it is a black card. You can only put this in black commander decks. But on the front, it's a colorless land, and it doesn't ask you to spend black mana anywhere. This is also true, of course, for, say, something like Archangel Avacyn, which requires white mana to cast. It's a white card on the front, but it happens to flip into a card that is red on the back, despite having nothing to do with red mana. Like, it doesn't require a single pip of red mana to cast. Yet its identity is Boros.
Yes, but interestingly enough, cards like Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth don't count towards this. The mentioning of swamps or islands is not the same thing as having that as the type in the card, nor requiring the pip. So Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth can be played in any commander deck regardless. And that's why things like Boil don't count as blue cards, even though it mentions island in the card.
So, Alex, you're the main arguer for this. So I really want to hear your pitch for color identity being abolished.
Yeah. So I think fundamentally, this is a game that is built around colors and mana bases and the kind of interesting ways these things tie in together. And it is not a game that wants a mechanic like color identity. You've got all these things. I think hybrid mana is the most clear one where it is absurd. You know, these cards were printed specifically with in mind that you can cast these with either mana type. That's the whole idea, is you can cast Shadow of Doubt with either blue mana or with black mana or with one of each. You know, it does kind of both things. It's intended to be kind of fitting the middle liminal space between these two colors, and you should be able to cast it with both. But you've also got other things. The MDFCs, the Strixhaven Deans, these are supposed to be playable in both colors. You can play either side, but no, you can't. You got, card of the wrong color on the other side. You've got creatures with colored abilities. You can't play these. You can only play them if you have all of the symbols fitting into place. So you have all these cases where these cards were designed for the version of Magic as it was intended, where you can kind of splash, colors are balanced by the mana bases, not by this thing called color identity. But this is prevented here because aesthetic sensibilities, I don't really get it.
Yeah, color identity is definitely a holdover from the older age of Commander, back when it was Elder Dragon Highlander, and all the decks were 3 colors because you only had the Elder Dragons themselves that were the pilots of decks, right? This being said, I think color identity has come in and of its own and actually made the format a better thing rather than a worse thing, just because I think the deck building limitation is actually very valuable in terms of feeling like you're building with a restriction that is actually hard coded into the game. Yes, I can play a mono black deck. I'm not going to be able to deal with artifacts very well. I'm going to be kind of stumbling against enchantments, but I get to run, Cabal Coffers easier than any other color combo, or Cabal Stronghold is a better example probably because that keys off only basic swamps, right? What I would like to see is more cards that bolster monocolor strategies. And I'm not talking like Throne of Eldraine, or the card, not the set, or Scepter of Eternal Glory, where it's just huge mana rock for a monocolor, or just generically good thing like Commander's Plate. I'm fine with Commander's Plate as a design. It's not too egregious, but it's starting to push the line for me of on the nose Heroes Commander sort of deals. But like War Room is such a cool card. I want to see more of that and less of breaking color identity completely.
I think we're definitely on the same page about monocolor wanting to be bolstered, because obviously there is kind of this fundamental tension with the idea that color identity produces limitations, in the sense that some people are just exempt from limitations. If you pick one of the top 2 commanders of all time, or I guess just one of the top 2 commanders, which are the Atraxa 4 colors, Dragon 5 colors, you don't have that limitation. You just get to opt out of it. You don't have to deal with that limitation. Whereas if you're picking a monocolored commander, say it's like your favorite Magic card of all time, you just love Gonti, let's say. Guess what? You only get 1 color of cards, and that's just a limitation that you have to take.
How couldn't you love Gonti? He's a hunk.
So there is a little bit of awkwardness there. And I think, yeah, more pushing of monocolored things would be good to try and inject a little bit of extra oomph into that. Because as it stands, there's a certain unfairness to things if we're going by this limitations via color identity thing.
So there is one aspect that I do agree that color identity is a little annoying, and that is the hybrid cards. Because to me, this is something that really warmed me up to this was actually something that Mark Rosewater tweeted. He put on his blog, Tumblr.
He tumbled.
It was that hybrid cards are specifically designed to be in both colors. Like both colors can use them evenly. Now, of course, there are outliers like the Boros extra combat hybrid mana spell, but most cards that are 2 colors hybrid mana are designed to go into either color. So instead of making a mono blue and mono black version of Shadow of Doubt, for instance, they just put it in Dimir. And instead of the Dimir player getting 2 in the world where we do split cards, that way both monocolors can get it, just let the monocolors play the hybrid mana card. I'm kind of into that. Now, there is some weird rules weirdness. For example, Batwing Broom includes white and black in the text, despite being an Orzhov hybrid mana casting card. That would not be allowed as per normal color identity if you were to allow hybrid manas. The same thing is true for the old Ravnica Guild Mages that cost hybrid to cast and have 2 activated abilities that are separate costs. Now, what I am hearing what you're saying, Snail, where it's like, oh, you can cast this in a monocolored deck, so you should be allowed to play it. However, I'm really scared that this will cause decks to devolve into soup, right? Like all the best cards will just go into a deck versus just like having some amount of restriction.
Sorry, to be clear, are you still like in terms of like removing color identity restrictions, like you would be okay if somebody played Gonti or whatever, let's say the mono black Gonti, the original one, and they just played 5 color Gonti. Like the list is entirely 5 colors. Gonti's the commander.
I'm of 2 minds on this. In a theoretical sense, I think it would be nice if people can pick a monocolored commander and do whatever they want with it. You know, build a 3-color deck, build a 4-color deck, build a 2-color deck, build a monocolor deck if they feel like that limitation. I think Commander is kind of about this sort of expression, choosing what you want to do with your deck, which is why, you know, some people can play 5 colors and choose not to have this restriction. At the same time, if we get into practical terms, obviously this is a large change to the game, and I don't know that I would prescribe it if I was suddenly in charge of whether color identity exists or not. You know, I don't know whether that would be a good change to suddenly throw at the game, but I think in principle, abolishing color identity would be not a bad thing necessarily.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't think it would kill Commander or anything. I just think that like it would get certainly more generic. I feel like decks would become very samey. Like any 2 decks together.
Yeah, I think using Gonti as an example here is interesting.
Yeah, Gonti has a lot of cards that like kill Gonti and bring him back into play. Like mono black flickering is really funny to see because like
you play Blade of Selves or whatever.
Yeah, you could just put in Thassa, Deep Dwelling. You can put in, you know, Teleportation Circle and just have the free Gonti flicker on end step every single time. So Gonti decks would kind of stop becoming this goofy mono black, like kill my guy and bring him back repeatedly.
I agree in the sense that limitations are interesting. However, that shouldn't only apply to monocolor decks. Like I cannot tell you how much joy I get when I see somebody who has built a 2 or 3 color commander missing a color just fully, just like they've chosen to omit it. I actually considered doing this a while back with the Flip Heliod. I don't remember what it's called, but the something
the
Dawn.
Phyrexian one.
But this is like a Heliod where you don't need blue mana in the deck. You can flip it with a Phyrexian mana. Mm-hmm. And so building this deck, it's obviously much better if you build it with blue because you get access to a whole bunch of great tools. But I think it's more interesting if you build it in mono white, right?
Yeah. The thing is that we're not Gen Pop, you know what I mean? To steal from Maldhound's terminology here, like we are not the general population. Like people are just going to put the best cards in their deck. And I feel like the format would suffer for it.
But all I'm saying is that like it seems a little unfair that this this is only an expectation to be held for like 1 or 2 color commanders. Why is it that the Atraxa players of the world don't get hindered by this thing at all, but person who loves Krenko more than anything else in the world only gets red to work with? Why is that? Why are they in particular getting targeted by this?
I definitely agree that monocolors could use the bump in power. I just don't know if expanding color identity is necessarily how you go about that. As much as I would love to put Boros Flipison into my like Orzhov Aristocrats deck or what have you.
Okay. I'll move back from my full abolition position because I don't even know if I hold that deep in my heart. Nothing fills me with more rage than when I can't play a card in a deck, even though it doesn't have any sort of mana symbols on it. They've just like thrown like black on the back of it.
Yeah, the color identity, the color like thing. Yeah. Oh,
that is absurd. That is ridiculous. That is confusing. That doesn't make sense for a new player. That doesn't make sense for anybody. Why is that the case?
Why can't I put Elbrus the Binding Blade in my colorless artifact deck or what have you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a little scuffed. I have to agree with you. I think I'm on board entirely for hybrid mana cards and any card with just a color indicator on the backside that's changing the color.
Yeah, I think if it's a flip card, like a true flip card, not an MDFC where you can cast each side, I think locking it to the color identity on the front half is totally fine. Because if it's an MDFC, that's like, there's something on the other half that has like a cost, that's like totally different, you know?
I could see some sort of in the middle position being like, if the card is fully payable with the colors of mana in these colors, then it should be valid. Now, I don't know how that applies for like something like Phyrexian mana. I don't know.
I think Phyrexian mana should just count as the color identity. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I don't want to see more mental missteps in my life, please.
Yeah, but it's like mental misstep in Commander. Like maybe like
mental missteps sees a lot of CDH play.
Oh yeah. I used to run it in my high power deck.
I used to run it.
Oh, more dismembers would actually be a worse problem, honestly.
Yeah. Dismember, yeah. Dismember, all the dismember stonksters of the world would be thriving.
Oh, actually, I have multiple play sets of dismember. Make it any color.
No, the real good one would be what's the Phyrexian green instant?
Mutagenic growth, or do you want
No. The playable,
the playable one.
Like the one that returns a card from
Noxious Revival.
Noxious Revival.
That card's not that good in EDH.
I love Noxious Revival.
This sees CDH play. This actually sees CDH play.
Yeah, but a lot of cards see CDH play.
No, this card's actually good.
Noxious Revival is actually really strong, like no joke. You can grave hate opponents with it, and then you can also like, we just got the miracle creatures in specifically the black one in the Duskmourn precon. I forgot the name of it. It's the reanimate.
Okay, Noxious Revival isn't a bad card. But
no,
like,
it's you're totally tapped out. Your opponent's like, great, they've already used their board wipe. I can commit to the board, and then you're like, 0 mana Noxious Revival, board wipe back on top. Untap, gotcha.
I love it for miracles. It's so funny for miracles to put Terminus back on top. It's so good for top deck manipulation. It's very strong.
It's not a bad card, but like on EDH Rec, 5% of green decks run it.
I think it's like
the grave hate mode on it is real. It's so good.
I don't know. The card's like legit pretty good.
No, it's not a bad card, but it's not a card good enough to suddenly get played in every single deck.
That's true.
I think I agree with that. You need some top deck stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're in agreement that maybe like an easing of color identity would be probably good for the game.
I think at least the flip cards.
Yeah, like a 10% lower, I'm kind of in on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Next up, I have a rules change I want to propose. That is, let me have more than 99 cards in my deck. You can put a cap on it too, like let me only have up to 300 or whatever, but more than 99 would be nice in Commander. Every other format lets you have as many as you can shuffle. Why not Commander? Why is it strictly making me make a good deck and make good deck building decisions? Why can't I have a diluted deck that sucks? It makes no sense that this is the most casual format and yet that it has a deck cap that makes me play better at the game. It's unfair.
So I'm going to say right now, I think the fact that normal Magic doesn't have a deck cap is kind of absurd.
It's as many as you can shuffle, which is very ableist because someone with huge hands can shuffle more cards than someone with baby hands. But
the phrase as many as you can shuffle is something. It's fascinating. I don't know. I could see going up to like 120 just as enabling for the what's it name players.
Yeah, Yorion. I would like to be able to companion in Commander. That's the first argument. The second argument, I want Battle of Wits.
No.
I want a Battle of Wits commander deck. I want that to be possible in the format. I wouldn't build it, but god damn it, I want to see it.
I don't. It's going to take so long. People already take a long time to shuffle their 100 card double sleeve deck. If somebody shows up with their 400 card double sleeve.
What's 300 more cards to a commander deck? You're not shuffling a normal commander deck anyway.
I don't have tiny baby hands. I can shuffle a normal commander deck.
What if you bring 2 shuffling assistants? Then is it acceptable, Con?
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, the problem is...
Yusef, pull up the picture.
Pull the picture, yeah.
Somebody's going to talk about it, so we got to talk about it. They were the guys that brought the 2,222 card deck to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament to protest the rules in Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh didn't have slow play rules. There's a bunch of terribleness with their tournament system. Partly why I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. And they didn't have a slow play system. So in Magic, if somebody brings a 10 billion card deck and they can't shuffle, you can say judge, slow play, and then they get DQ'd. You couldn't do that in Yu-Gi-Oh, so these guys would just show up with 2,000 card decks and fail to shuffle and just draw every round.
I love the picture so much because they look like some like members of like some nerdy Men in Black wearing like fedoras. Like,
the hats are so killer.
It's
love the
legendary.
fedoras.
It's like one of the
cool.
best photos on the internet, honestly. But in a casual commander game, I can't call you for slow play. I just have to sit there and watch you shuffle your stupid Battle of Wits deck.
Yeah.
I'm fine with a cap. Like, let it be 300 or whatever, right?
That's
like
that's
Let it
so
be
much.
300. That's so many cards.
300 is a good cap. 250. Meet me here.
No.
Triple
I'm
sleeve.
willing to enable the Yorion players, but I'm not willing to enable the Battle of Wits players.
I don't even want to enable the Yorion players.
The only argument I am sympathetic towards for like this should not be the case is that it nerfs poor mill players.
No, that's the only argument I agree with. I'm in favor of nerfing mill players.
So the problem with increasing deck size is it literally is only for 2 cards. Yorion, not even as the commander. You can still play it as your commander. You can still use the card in the format normally. Just as the companion specifically, it's the only thing we're being locked out of here. And then Battle of Wits. There's like almost no other like gameplay reason to increase the deck size. And it seems like so much more of a hassle to have me watch someone shuffle their 200 card like sliver deck or whatever every time they like crack a fetch land for like not like real benefits.
It pisses me off so much that companion is able to be done in Commander, and yet there's just one companion that is legal, but you can't companion it because of some stupid rule of the format that you have to have 99 cards. I also get people all the time like, ooh, can I make cuts to my deck? How do I make cuts to my deck? It would be so much more funny that if I could just say, just run it like a 200 card deck, man.
I thought you were going to say it's way funnier if you cut 100 cards from their deck.
Okay, so obviously this isn't going to happen. They're not actually going to, put the effort to making this change. But imagine how funny it would be if there was a Yorion renaissance where that was the only change. Yorion became legal and all the Yorion players got to rejoice.
I would love Yorion. Yorion's pretty cool. Like just like mass flicker on a thing.
As someone who played Modern when the stupid card was legal, it wasn't fun. It wasn't cool. It was just every turn was like 1 billion cards.
I do want to emphasize that I hate Companion as a mechanic, except in Commander and Draft. In 60 card formats, I hated Companion. That it was such a stupid like design decision. Like, let's make every format into Commander. In Commander, though, where you have a 99 card singleton deck, the deck building restrictions actually mean something.
Yeah.
And getting +1 card is less impactful when you have 3 opponents.
Come on, just give the Commander players more commanders. We want it.
Really like Companion and Commander. Just give me Yorion, please.
This is the rules change. I'm adding a 4th rules change here mid-podcast. Remove the ability for Companion to work. So when Companion first got printed, the rules committee actually changed the rules of Commanders such that Companions would work and Wishes, which we'll talk about in a second, still wouldn't work. They altered the rules slightly. It was a slight tweak to the wording. And I think that was really stupid. Because then it means Lutri has to be banned.
Yeah, you just want Is It Narumeha, Con.
I think Is It Narumeha would be cool, and not that many people actually use the companion thing. So I think the loss of utilizing the companions in the companion zone and 101st card, which already breaks another rule anyway, is like very dumb and confusing. So I think clearing companion out is great. And companion already should be ignored as much as we can in the game. Like literally, I am looking at the card Yorion from the original printing, and the text on the card is not what the card actually does because this mechanic is awful.
Yeah, it did get eroded. I agree. I hate Companion for 60 card, but it's so cool in Commander. In fact, I'm going to double down. Give me more Companions for Commander.
Absolutely.
This is going to ruin the 2 Legacy players that want to peacefully play Legacy.
Just pre-ban them from Legacy. Pre-ban them from Legacy. They're not allowed. Commander only.
I hear people defending Lutri, but I'm telling you, I get so much more excited when I see somebody with a companion with a commander than I would if somebody played Lutri as a commander. Like, cool. You copy a spell. That's neat. Cool, buddy.
Imagine Luris Hashaton. That's like my new fixation right now. Hashaton has Esper color identity, and it is 2 or less mana value.
That's funky. That's so funky.
So you can Luris companion that deck.
Oh, one of my patrons built a Luris Hashton deck with like Heir Apparent as well.
Oh no.
So
I don't know if I'd do Heir Apparent in any
It's so
deck.
funny.
I don't know if I would do Heir Apparent, but like it would be a really cool like Rally the Ancestors like combo deck. Anyway, you mentioned wishes before, and we were talking about companions, so...
Yes, let's talk about wishes. I would actually really want this change. So, wishes are a thing that have been in Magic for a hot minute. I'm going to use Glittering Wish as an example.
2 decades is a really hot minute.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. Well, when was the first one? It was Judgment, right? Is that 20 years
it was
ago?
like early 2000s.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been around for a while. So Glittering Wish, I'll use as an example. It's green and white for sorcery. You may reveal a multicolored card you own from outside the game and put it in your hand, exile Glittering Wish. So the way outside the game that you own works is it means your sideboard. Now in Commander, you do not have a sideboard. So Glittering Wish doesn't do anything. Karn the Great Creator, it can get you an artifact that was exiled mid-game, but it cannot grab an artifact from your binder. It doesn't work like that. It is in the rules. And this is something that I have seen confuse players in the past. I have seen new players think that it works this way, but it does not. So the rules change being proposed here is to add a wish board. So you get a sideboard, which is not relevant in Commander because you don't play like best 2 out of 3s or whatever, but like a set of cards that you could use to hit with a wish. And I think that number should be like 3 or 5, not the full 15. That would be too much.
Oh yeah, no. A full 15 is assuming play sets of cards that exist and like you're bringing in like 8 cards for a matchup. 5 feels like the upper end of what would be pretty acceptable. And a companion would take up a slot in the wish board.
Sure, yeah.
100%.
I think this change would be really good though. The card Wish itself was printed in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of new Commander players that saw the card and said, whoa, you can play a card you own from outside the game. I can just grab something from my binder, not realizing that like, no, it actually just doesn't do anything in Commander. So it's like kind of weird to have some of these cards that just don't do anything at all in Magic's most popular format.
Yeah. I'm going to bat here. This is such a stupid battle to like kill to die on. Lessons? Let me learn in Commander.
Sure.
Let me have a lesson board.
I'm less excited about lessons, to be honest, but yeah.
I wonder why.
Lessons are fun. The thing I find interesting about wish cards in 60 card formats is that they take up sideboard space. You know, you'll look at like a list that uses these sorts of cards and you'll see like this sideboard that does not look like other sideboards. It has like this kind of very specific thought put into it, and it is expending a resource. It has less pivotability than other decks. In Commander, that's not the case. You know, there isn't that sort of limitation. I'm not saying that's like a balance issue, but I think that removes part of the intrigue of the mechanic, I would say. And also it just adds extra complexity to a format that doesn't need it. Like I don't think we need wish boards. I don't think they particularly do much other than like poking a dopamine button in the brains of toolbox players.
It's me.
Yeah, I know exactly. To me, the complexity of Commander is really what is a good argument for more complexity, and not conversely. What's one more rule on Magic the Gathering Commander? Like legitimately, we have hundreds of thousands of rules. Like it's a textbook, the rules document. What's one more rule of the wish board? Let people have it. We have attraction decks. Like come on. And for me, also the pivotability thing, I definitely agree that cost of having a sideboard is reduced. However, the sideboard is still singleton rules. So for instance, when it comes to, I want an Ensnaring Bridge in my Karn package. Well, that's now an Ensnaring Bridge you do not have in your Commander deck, right? Yes, you can grab an Ensnaring Bridge from the wish board if you want to wish for an artifact, but now you can't War of Invention for it. So there is still a cost in the fact that you can't include it in your 99.
That's true, but also there are a lot of cards in Magic the Gathering. This format includes every card in the game, minus a handful that are banned and a handful that are acorn or whatever, you can find some pretty decent cards that didn't quite make the cut for your deck. That are just a little too niche. It's pretty easy to do that, even given that you can't run a card. Obviously, it is more of a cost to run a wish card in your deck than it is in a 60 card format, especially with a wish board of like 3 cards. But still, it's pretty easy to like find some decent cards that are like almost making their way into the deck, but not quite. Like, you're not going to run your key cards. You're going to run maybe a versatile card and then a couple cool niche cards that didn't quite make it in.
Yeah, that is pretty true, because it's definitely not a power argument that wishes are too strong and therefore shouldn't be in. It's entirely a complexity argument. And then once again, we're just back kind of talking about how complex Commander already is, and another rule isn't going to really, mix it up. So I think we're good to move on then, unless we have some more to talk about.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't want to get too circular on it.
Move on to spoiler talk. We'll talk about just Tarkir because it's the next set. Other teasers we'll talk about later as the set actually approaches.
Yeah. Screw you, Final Fantasy. Screw you, Spider-Man. Wait your turn.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, those stupid jacked up prices. Please don't pre-order
my God,
anything.
don't.
Please,
Yeah,
I beg
don't.
of you, listening to this right now, do not pre-order that crap. Just buy the couple of singles you need.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I am incredibly disappointed that we're having to pick up the licensing fees. That is so infuriating. Anyway, Mox Jasper.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say the dollar average of the basics you're buying from a $75 pre-con is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like, think how much you're paying per basic land. That is crazy.
Mox Jasper.
Yeah. Muscat Jasper. Ooh.
This card sucks. It's a 0-mana legendary artifact that taps to add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control a dragon. So it's a Mox, but it only works when you have one of the most mana hungry intensive creature types on the board. So it's worthless.
See, I like this card a lot because not because I think it's particularly good, but because I enjoy theoretically powerful cards with very strong restrictions. And you could also tell that this card is going to be a sleeper. Like, if they print weird low cost dragons in a future set, this card might come out to
I
bite
do
the
like
world.
it with exactly changelings. If you have like changelings
That's true.
deck, it's all changelings. Like, you have a perfect mana curve of changelings. This is just a Mox, which is very good.
I also really like it in Corlessa Scale Singer. It's a 2 mana, 1/4 dragon, lets you cast dragons off the top. At 2 mana, you're turning on this Mox pretty consistently.
Give Corlessa more love. I love that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't even know if Mox Amber's like good in like a commander deck with a 2-mana commander. Like, I don't know if I'd put Mox
I
Amber.
think it is.
I play
Yeah,
Mox
for
Amber
sure.
in my Jace deck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's like equivalent to an arcane signet, effectively, assuming your opponent doesn't immediately delete it, which even if they do, you might get a mana or two.
It's
off of
better
that.
than an Arcane Signet, right? Because a Mox Amber would be you're casting your commander
Yeah,
casting
yeah.
the Arcane Signet for free, essentially.
I would like it in like Emry or Psy Master Thopterus. I don't know if I would play it outside of that though. It's just like so bad to get 2 for 1 with having your commander removed or what have
I mean,
you.
it's a 2-mana commander. You'll cast it at 4 mana. You'll get the thing back out. Are people really going to keep your 2-mana commander hated out? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Mox Amber is quite good.
Like, would you put Mox Amber in a Dragons deck with how many legendary dragons there are? Like, I think that's where Mox Jasper really falls.
If you're playing Corlessa, I would recommend Mox Amber.
If you want to spend $50 on a Mox Amber for a Colessa deck.
yeah, exactly, that is true.
I mean, yeah, Mox Amber is $50, right?
Yeah.
It needs a reprint really bad. Or hopefully it'll get banned in Modern, and then the price will go down for Commander players.
Is Mox Amber played in Modern?
Mox Amber, it's in the best deck in Modern.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's in Breach, right?
Yeah, so there's the Grinding Station combo deck. It is currently 14% of the metagame according to Goldfish, and it literally plays like Emery.
Yeah.
I think that's the only legend. Isn't that the only legend?
Yeah, it's basically the only legend.
Oh, I have not kept up on the Mox on the Modern metagame. That's something.
Yeah, Underworld Breach, Grinding Station is the best deck in the format.
Yeah.
It's so fast. It's so good. It was always like really good.
Yeah.
And then, they play Tameo as
Oh, yeah,
another
Tameo.
legend.
Well, let me reiterate. Titan is always the best deck in the Modern format, but I guess Breach can have its time in the sunshine before it gets headshot by something else, you know?
Yeah, the Mox Opal ban, it was always good, but the Mox Opal ban buffed it because it's an
Yeah.
artifact combo deck, so they got 2 Moxes now, so...
Mox Opal got unbanned. I forgot about that.
Mox Opal got unbanned. Have you
Yeah.
guys seen the picture that was like who needs Soul Ring, and then it's like the 1 mana artifact changeling Mox Opal and then Mox
Yeah.
Jasper?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
funny.
I need to stop looking at the modern metagame. I'm so sad. Cheapest deck's like $600.
Do you guys want to talk about Inevitable Defeat?
Yes, I think this card's cool.
Yeah, this is really cool, especially for Sunforger is what has me
Yeah.
really excited for this. Mardu Sunforger, you can tutor for this card. It's 4 mana,
Oh, that's true.
1 and a Mardu for instant speed. This spell can't be countered, exile target non-land permanent, and then you Lightning Helix its controller.
You could already do that with Utter End. Like this, that's obviously the card that this is riffing off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Other End is not uncounterable. I actually like the uncounterable here.
You can run both now, right? You don't have to rely on your Misfail Plains.
And it's 2 things for your, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
And if you allowed hybrid mana symbols, you could put Wheel of Sun and Moon in your Mardu Sunforger deck, and then you got a stew going.
Yusuf, please put this art for Wheel of Sun and Moon on, the Secret Lair one. It is very funny.
The Secret Lair one looks cool. It's like a cool tarot card kind of art.
It's like one of my favorite arts in the game. This card's like $3. I should get one.
Let's get our local upkeep hater to tell me why Smile at Death sucks.
I hate this card. If this said end step, I would be so in. It's a 5 mana do nothing enchantment. You tap 5 lands and you do not commit anything to the board, and then you get nuked by something, right? Like you just get swung out at forever. Especially if you have a Spore Frog in your graveyard or like a Kami of False Hope. No one's letting you untap with this thing.
Elk's playing against players with roughly 30 naturalizes by volume in their deck.
I'm just thinking about even getting like smacked over the head. Once people see the Kami of False Hope in the graveyard, they're just swinging out at you because they're never going to be able to do combat damage to you again.
For sure, yeah. If you're doing degenerate shit with this, then yeah, you're gonna have some issues. You're gonna.
What else? Are you going to do fair things with Smile at Death? That's what you're excited for?
It's not bad. It's just like a base array. Like it returns some like random goobers that in my
Yeah, you can get back like a Haywire Might or some crap.
Yeah, you can bring back some bullshit. You know, there might be more important things.
You think the artifact player is going to let you untap with this thing when you have Haywire Might in your graveyard? You are getting murdered by that dude.
Soul God Lanterning you.
Haywire Might was a bad example.
He's going to kill you every turn for the rest of the game.
I don't know, some cards in what's the commander? Ishin? Yeah. Just like some random dudes with attack triggers in Ishin. You can do that.
I do want to say like the Burnished Heart, like Sakura Tribe Elder, like Selesnya
So
Turbo Ramp
bad.
sack
So
plan
bad.
it's charming. It's charming, which is a placeholder
on.
word for bad. But
This is true.
It's really charming.
This is non-green ramp. We're trying to catch up to the overpowered color green.
Yes. So if you're getting like Claim Jumper back or whatever, that white one that like puts like 2 planes into play or something.
Claim Jumper's a 3/3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you cannot get it back.
Oh, I'm thinking of the frog that's a 1/2.
Oh yeah, the one stupid frog that lets you like reveal cards until you
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Ignore what I said. Yeah, this card sucks.
Yeah, I don't like Smile at Death that much.
What do you guys think of Storm Scale Scion? So I think it's funny, right? Because it references the Storm Scale, which is a thing outside the game.
Can I be real with this card? I legitimately think this is playable.
No, it's actually good,
I mean,
right?
it's a good card.
I wouldn't put it in a Dragon's deck.
No. This is terrible in a dragon. I mean, it's like a lord, I guess.
Yeah, this is like, so do you know the card Elemental Eruption or whatever?
Yeah. The one that makes a 4/4, it's got Storm.
Yes, it's Elemental Eruption. There's another Storm card with Eruption in the name and it says destroy target land.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, Elemental Eruption makes a 4/4 red dragon elemental creature token with flying and prowess for 6 mana. So the fact that this is non-token is better. For any medium-sized Storm deck, like I'm going to cast 10 spells before this, it's better than Grape Shot, Storm Scale Scion.
Let's just say you cast 2 spells before this, right? So you cast this and you make 2 dudes. They're giving each other +2/+2, right? That's 3 6/6s with flying. That's just like a reasonable amount of damage.
I like that these dudes pump each other.
Yeah.
No, this card's just solid in general. Honestly, even in a dragon deck, like if you manage like 1 spell before it, that's a pretty solid lord. Like that's good.
Yeah, if you cast like Arcane Signet into this.
Okay. Here's the thing though, dragons don't need it.
Yeah.
I hate Crucible of Fire. That card sucks ass. It's awful. It's 4 mana, your dragons get +3/+3. Like that doesn't meaningfully change the clock of your like board of 6/6 and 5/5 dragons. Like you're killing everyone forever.
What about this as a replacement for Crucible of Fire? What do you think about that?
I like that better because it is at the very least a 4/4 body, like Crucible of Fire, which is like literally nothing.
And then we get down to this. Other dragons you control get +1/+1 Storm. Your deck is a dragon deck, so your curve is huge, presumably. You're gonna cast spells in your big clunky dragon deck before the Storm Scale Scion.
I agree. It's pretty mediocre in a dragon deck. I think realistically, you're gonna like cast, like an Arcane Signet and then this and just get 2 guys, which is like 2 lords or whatever, which is like fine. It's like probably good enough in like some low power dragon deck to play, but this will shine in a
just like in a storm deck would be very good.
storm deck. Yeah.
I think this is gonna be pretty solid in Ur-Dragon as well. Like, it costs less. You're gonna like cast some like bunch of draw before it. You can probably get a storm count of 2 pretty often with like a couple dragons on board. That's a good swing.
I just don't feel that good, because here's the thing: a glorious anthem is super good because it pumps your 1/1s by 1, and that's doubling their power, which is really strong. In this example, giving +3/+3 +2/+2 whatever is literally not even half of the power of the dragons you have increased. Like, your dragons are just killing people.
I agree with you in principle. I just think this card is good enough that it works, even though anthems aren't ideal in a dragon deck.
Yeah.
This is just a good card.
It's fine.
Way better in a changeling deck. So you actually play like 4 changelings and then this.
Changeling players feasting.
This in a changeling deck does go crazy. Yeah, no, changeling players are about to rule the world here soon.
What do you think of the Shiko, Paragon of the Way? Jeskai in 2 for 4/5, Spirit Dragon, Flying Vigilance. When it enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard, copy it, and then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost.
I was not in on this card until I realized that like you can kind of just go ham with like ghostly flickers and stuff. Imagine a graveyard that has ghostly flicker, ghostway, all the flicker spells that flicker multiple things and come back instantaneously. And then you play Shiko and you have like a Fear of Burning Alive that does 4 damage to each opponent whenever it enters. And then you just go like Shiko, exile the ghostly flicker, and then you flicker both. And then Shiko, exile the
Displace.
There's another blue one. Yusef put it up on screen, save me. But there's a lot of these cards that flicker 2 things and then just bring them back right away. And if your graveyard is full of those, you can just go pew 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 and just like blow up everyone. It's so
Let's get you storm count huge.
Have some draw discard as well to get through more of it. Yeah, that's funny.
Oh yeah, just end it with a storm card with 3 mana or less.
Yeah.
True. No, this is funny.
Yeah, like I was not in on this. I was like, ooh, it's just an enters. It's not a Sun Titan. It doesn't need to be a Sun Titan. This card's already very good.
Yeah. One thing that also makes it different than Sun Titan is it says copy and you may cast the copy, right? So you're not going to be able to get lands off of this. Oh, it says non-land card. It also says non-land. Yeah.
It's also any non-land card. So you can, of course, like I said, bring back instants and sorceries, right? So it's not a Sun Titan. This is like a big Snapcaster.
Yeah, it's more like a Snapcaster than a Sun Titan. Which I do think it's kind of cool that you can use it to cast suspend cards that have no mana costs, like Inevitable Betrayal or something.
Ooh, you can play balance with this card.
yeah. You can play, was it Restore Balance?
Yes.
It's like Goblin Dark Dwellers that can target any card type. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah, any non-land with 3 or less.
That's yeah.
Guys, I might like Jeskai. Oh no.
Jeskai a cool color combination.
Jeskai good. Did we agree that Jeskai was good? That was like one that we all liked, right?
Yeah.
We're moving on to Beseech the Mirror. This is where we answer questions from you. You just need to put mirror in the comment here or on Spotify for us to search it up. You can also tweet or blue sky at Elk or I. Links are in the description. This person says, how do I stop being the kill on site player? Specifically, they're playing Dino, Tribal, and they don't want to stop doing that.
Play something else. Okay, if you're playing Gishath, play Pantlaza. If you're already playing Pantlaza, stop playing dinosaurs. That's my solution.
Alternatively, be the kill on site player and just run more stats.
Yeah.
Slow everyone down.
I don't know. I enjoy being the kill on site player, but
yeah, I do too.
Dinos is tricky. The Dinos, you can get stalled out.
Yeah. Safara is often my most kill on site deck. And it's so nice because all my stacked pieces just get indestructible and shut off everything forever. It's so funny. I have 3 for 1 so many times with Safara and 1.
Hell yeah.
Just like 3 players relying on ETBs locked under a Hushbringer that's indestructible. Just like, oh my God.
That's brutal.
This question comes from Yushi. It's love level 100? I don't know. Mirror, I beseech thee, is what I ask a worthy query. Is there any commander you would not recommend under any circumstance?
Whatever commander you like the most, I don't recommend. I think that card sucks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can concur. That card sucks ass.
No, honest to God, it's like I would not recommend anyone build a deck that's just super under-supported just because it's like stupid and weird. Imagine like seeing Hydar Rhyme Windmaster across the table from you. This is 4 and a blue from Ice Age. It's a 3/3 human wizard. 2 tap, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Play this ability only if you control 4 or more snow permanents. Like, I'm going to feel bad for you if you put this across the table from me. Because it's just, this is the worst card I've ever seen, and you're trying to be a cute little hipster. I get it, right? But it's just bad. And it makes me feel bad.
I would say the opposite. I wouldn't recommend cards like Urza as your commander, or cards like, I don't know, insert.
The thing is, Urza, this is under any circumstance. The thing about Urza, you can do cool things with Urza. I know, hang up, wait, don't shoot me yet. Put the gun down. You can do cool things with Urza. As in, like, imagine Urza equipment, where you tap down the equipment for blue mana or something like this, right? Like, there is lines with Urza that aren't just like, I'm doing artifact CEDH stacks.
The way Urza works in that it generates like a ton of snowballing value in like onto itself, no matter how like, so the same thing, the similar problem with Storm from Marvel or whatever, right? Since it creates so much like snowbally value, you put yourself in a situation where it's almost always the correct gameplay decision for your opponent to destroy your commander, to remove your commander, and putting yourself in that position, if you don't want to play the CDH deck where you have all of the crazy resources and the free counter spells and blah blah blah, is going to be like, you're going to be really sad that game. And if you want to play a silly artifact equipment deck, you can just pick a different commander for that. And if you're trying to play something silly goofy, I wouldn't recommend a very high power commander. Yeah. Unless you want to play high power commander, and then you play CDH or whatever.
That is fair, but like, yeah, the question is very much so just like under any circumstance. It's like you can hipster too close to the sun is what I'm saying.
I wouldn't recommend. I don't know that I have anything that I wouldn't run in under any circumstances, but I have some that I would be exceptionally careful around. And this is, I guess, slightly similar to what Khan said. I guess Kyler's a good example of this. A card where it is so focused on doing an insane thing, if you don't get disrupted, it pops the hell off if you get to play it, have it sit around your whole turn cycle, and then go ham playing spells the next turn.
Kyler, a Sigardian Emissary, is one of the decks that my Safara deck was 3v1ing and won against because it's an ETB trigger, Kyler.
Yeah.
So if you're pinned under a Hushbringer, Kyler is a 5-mana 2/2 that does nothing.
Even without that, just Kyler as a general card.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
It's a 5-mana card, so you're playing at top of curve, typically for a humans deck. Humans are fairly low costed.
Yeah, and you're hoping to land like a Call the Coppercoats after.
Yes, you're hoping to slam a bunch of tokens onto the board, but people know that's what you're planning because the card is dog shit otherwise. So, like,
yeah, exactly.
It's a card that really can only be either great and win you the game very, very quickly, or do not much at all. Now, if you are exceptionally careful, you can build a Kyler deck with just a lot of protection, just keeping in mind that this is the nature of your commander. If you're keeping that in mind constantly, I think it can be fun to build with a commander like this. But you need to do that. You need to keep that in mind constantly. You cannot build like the ideal situation deck in your brain where you just play Kyler, play your token generator, win, because that won't happen most games.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a Feast or Famine commander, you need to be ready to accept the Feast or Famine. You can't be complaining when your, remove on site commander gets removed on site for the third time. Vanifar, oh my God, don't get me started. Actually, let's move on to the next question.
You're talking about like Vanifar with like untappers?
I've had a person play Vanifar against me, and I removed his commander for the 5th time in a row. Like literally, he played it 5 turns in a row, and I removed it each time. And he's like,
"It's even broken if you don't run untappers. Just don't run untappers."
Yeah, well, the thing is like he's like, "Oh, when are you gonna let me untap with my commander?" And I'm like, "If you untap with your commander, do you win the game?" And then he stopped talking.
Yeah. No, if you're running that Vanifar deck, you gotta shut up.
I hate when people complain like this. I remember playing against this Gitrog player. I was like, this was my 5th spot removal spell on his commander or something like that. And he was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, you have Gitrog, and I saw you dredge for Dakmor Salvage. If you have a discard out, like the game is over. Like I have to do this. There's nothing else for me to do.
I just looked at the Vanifar EDH rec page, and the top 3 cards untap a creature. I did not realize that the Vanifar players...
Yeah, Vanifar is only pod combo.
In my $25 deck pool, there was a Vanifar deck. It used to have untappers. It made for a bad play pattern, so they got removed, and then the deck was kind of fun. Just it was a pod deck. But yeah, if you're running the untappers...
Yeah, the Vanifar pregame conversation always consists of, listen, I do not have untappers, please mercy. Like just begging and pleading.
It is a normal, fairly good, but normal commander if you don't have untappers. And if you do have untappers, yeah.
Oh, that's how you spell Vanifar. Holy hell. I'm sitting here.
To be clear, by the way, the person complaining was doing it in jest. It was my good friend Gustavo back home.
Oh yeah, just for any listeners, not watchers, Vanifar is a birthing plot on a creature. So it is 4-mana creature, tap, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost, and put that card into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate only as a sorcery.
Yeah, so with each, you can get an untapper, and then you untap Vanifar, and then you sack the thing, and then you can do a huge, stupid combo line.
Yeah, it's just take a 20-minute turn. Yeah. See, the problem with the $25 version was that it would take the 20-minute turn and then not win because it was a $25 deck. And that made everybody mad.
That's what my next video is going to be on, is having ways to close out your deck is virtuous and just and righteous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, I have that idea written down too. It's all right.
Too bad. Harvested from your mind palace. Yoink.
Oh, my mind
slurped.
My mind shack. It's definitely not a palace. There's a user that's asking, how do you find more space in your battlecruiser style decks? Do we want to give advice?
I feel like battlecruiser decks are the easiest. Just mush your categories. High mana creatures tend to do multiple things. You know, they'll typically be big and remove a thing, be big and ramp, be big and draw. So just like mush your categories together. Get things that do multiple things.
If you could have more than 99 cards in Commander, you could just run more cards in your deck.
No. Yusuf, leaving Alex's answer was really good.
So I tend to run very few cards that are mainly for beating down opponents in my decks. I know that's pretty common in battlecruiser decks, and I don't understand the appeal of those because I feel like when I play those, I win too quickly. Whereas if I just play a bunch of things that draw and remove and do other things, I have a better time in the games where my opponents are putting up more resistance, and I don't win quite as quickly in the games where my opponents are putting up less resistance, but that leads to a better overall play pattern. So there are multiple upsides to just kind of making your top end be support categories, basically.
I don't know, man. Put an Elishnorn on the board and kill everyone.
You can also do that.
Yeah, I've recently built an aggro deck, and I'm excited to see how quickly it can actually take out games. I'm playing like Slicer in the 99, and whatever the Assassin's Creed version is, also just like in the 99. Like Bruce Tarl, so I can give him double strike.
Duelist Heritage.
And Duelist Heritage is in the deck too. It's pretty funny. Should we reveal our secret and then just cut the podcast?
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, sure.
This is the second time we're doing this episode.
Yeah.
We had an oopsie.
We had an oopsie. And you know what? We learned a valuable lesson. There's now a backup system.
I knew that it would take an oopsie to get a backup
sorry,
system.
everyone. That is on me. On me. My Spotify. What? Huh? Cut it.